This is the Washington Times front page for Monday, July 3rd, 2023. Thanks for starting your week with us. I'm George Gerbo. U.S. Chief Justice John Roberts closed the Supreme Court's term with a warning, saying the increasingly harsh language justices use in their opinions to attack others' rulings is hurting the court. Alex Sawyer and Stephen Dinan report he issued the admonition in the court's final decision of the year, a 6-3 ruling halting President Biden's student loan forgiveness program. Elena Kagan, joined by the other two Democratic-appointed justices, wrote a fierce dissent, saying the high court broke from judiciary principles. Roberts said the dissent went too far, saying disagreement must not be mistaken for disparagement. The court had a tumultuous term as it battled allegations of ethical lapses, and polls showed plummeting confidence in its impartiality. Now, with more leverage in defense spending negotiations on Capitol Hill, Republicans must decide which Pentagon policies to fight and which to accept. Ben Wolfgang reports recent history suggests Republicans can get some of their demands as the annual National Defense Authorization Act takes shape. Last year, President Biden and his Democratic allies in Congress acquiesced to one of the GOP's highest-profile priorities, eliminating the military's mandate responsible for discharging troops who refused the COVID-19 vaccine. This year's Republican targets include eliminating or scaling back military personnel that can travel for abortions and the promotion of electric-powered vehicles. Former President Trump has his rivals in the 2024 Republican presidential race looking for a derailment. So far, Seth MacLachlan reports Trump is far ahead of his closest rival, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, in national and early state polls. His rivals are clinging to the example of the early stages of the 2008 Democratic primary race. Hillary Clinton was considered a near shoo-in for that nomination in early July, but her lead in the polls evaporated with the startling rise of then-Senator Barack Obama. A new study finds the Space Force needs new offensive weapons and more sophisticated defenses to counter China's rapid deployment of multiple space arms. Bill Gertz reports the Mitchell Institute for Aerospace Studies warns that China views the vulnerability of U.S. satellites as its strategic advantage. Additionally, they find a renewed emphasis on diplomacy and engagement will not be enough to deter conflict. The report stops short of calling directly for deploying ground-based anti-satellite missiles. Instead, it suggests weapons that can responsibly attack or disable Chinese satellites without creating major fields of orbiting debris. And finally, Carrie Pickett has a couple of dispatches from the annual Moms for Liberty Summit in Philadelphia. The appearances of former President Trump, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley were testaments to the group's exponential growth and influence since its launch in 2021. Republican presidential hopefuls Vivek Ramaswamy and former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson also addressed the four-day summit. The Southern Poverty Law Center has put the group on a hate map, saying they harass LGBTQ individuals, promote anti-gay misinformation, and fight diversity and inclusion in school materials. Members of the Moms group dispute that characterization. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.